And welcome to our monthly Social Security series, News You Can Use. Today's program will cover Social Security for widows and widowers. I'm Evan Jones, and I'm your host today, and glad you can join us. This meeting is being recorded, so those who cannot be with us today can still view the program later on our AARP Virginia YouTube channel. And of course, if you'd like to review this program, you can do so as well. Now, please click Got It when it appears on your screen. Now, if you're not familiar, AARP is the nation's largest nonprofit, nonpartisan organization dedicated to empowering people to choose how they live as they age. AARP works to strengthen communities and advocates for what matters most, with a focus on health security, financial resilience, and social connection. Today's program focuses on Social Security and financial security. Before we begin, AARP Virginia wants to make sure that you have the most current updates on Social Security. Now, we're pleased to be joined in a moment by Scott Musser, who's AARP's Senior Strategic Campaigns Advisor. But we'll begin with a brief video. Then Scott will share some additional thoughts.
Social Security is one of the most dependable things that we have.
Anybody who's paying into that pot should benefit from getting Social Security, period, point blank. That's just non-negotiable. That should not be touched because you need that for people to survive.
You work most of your life and hoping to get some out of it, which I did, and I'm grateful for it.
My cousin, and she gets it, and she can't get around a lot, and her health is real bad, and that's her only income of surviving.
I waited from the time I was 16 and started working and paying into Social Security until I turned 65. That's many years to wait to get Social Security and look forward to it.
This was a benefit that was promised to us for being hardworking people, and we contributed accordingly. And I guess, I didn't even think twice that Social Security will be there for me.
It will mean the world to me when I do start receiving it, and anything less than what I'm expecting, I won't be able to live within my budget.
And with that, Scott, take it from here.
Great. Thanks, Evan. As Evan said, I'm Scott Musser. I'm with the campaigns department with the AARP National Office. Just want to give you a little update on some of the things that are going on. Last week, we had a great Hill Visit Day. We had 53 state offices. That's 50 states plus DC, Puerto Rico, and the Virgin Islands were all out with their staff in DC, meeting with their congressional members, talking about important information and issues like making sure the Social Security Administration is well funded to be able to provide the quality customer service that we know and we expect. And also talk about issues like Medicaid and SNAP benefits that are part of the legislation being debated in DC right now. We're also coming up in about 6 weeks from the 90th anniversary of Social Security on August 12th. We've got a lot of great events planned across the country. We've got about 250 different events going on. A lot of different ways for people to get together, a lot, talk about Social Security, celebrate the 90 years, and hopefully 90 more years of Social Security providing the benefits like we heard about in the video just there. But it's very important that we all keep doing what we can do to make sure Social Security is there and solvent for the future. So you're going to be hearing a lot of things today, great important information. You'll be seeing things from the Virginia State Office over the next few weeks as well, including some opportunity to hopefully get together with the Virginia staff and enjoy some nice ice cream during that warm August month. But with that, that's sort of the update right now, and more to come on Social Security. But so happy to have so many people on the call today to hear about this great topic. So I will turn it back over to Evan. Thanks, Evan.
Well, thank you, Scott. And it's my pleasure now to introduce our guest and AARP's Social Security Program Manager. He is Jamie Lyle. Jamie has a background in psychology and social services. He's a graduate of Coppin State University, and he holds a master's in industrial organizational psychology. Now, of important note, he has served as a technical expert at the Social Security Administration. He currently works as a program manager at AARP. He leads initiatives to strengthen Social Security. He's also pursuing a Master's of Arts in Nonprofit Management at Johns Hopkins University. Now, one important matter regarding any questions you may have for Jamie. Please put those questions in the Q&A window. We'll be monitoring them. We'll get to them later. Now, let's get going right now and take it away, Jamie.
Thank you, Evan. Just give me a moment, everyone. Let me get my screen on for everyone. Okay, can you see my screen? Awesome. Hello, everyone. I am Jamie Lyell. Again, going to be talking about Social Security for the widows and widowers. Just a quick about me. Presenting at Social Security for AARP really lets me combine heart and purpose, educating in the classroom and showing I care also in the community. Now, you may not be able to predict the future, but with Social Security, you can help protect your family from it. And we're talking about family payments. I want to start with that just in case if one of these scenarios of these payments might apply to you. And it really allows for peace of mind. And if peace of mind was a currency, I would look at Social Security as it would be the safest investment you can make for your loved ones. So let's get into who can collect on a record overall. Now, when you start receiving, or when someone starts receiving Social Security retirement payments, some members of the family may be able to qualify for receiving payments on that record. Certain requirements, as you can see here on the screen: children, spouse, survivors, and ex-spouse. That's where, and the survivors as well, widows and widowers will fall into. But I just wanted to just cover each subject just in case if you might have some questions around this as well. Now, for children, payments of the retired, deceased, or disabled worker can, in many cases, collect Social Security payments on a parent's earnings record. This does also apply for grandchildren as well. Social Security incorporates children into its payment structure to help retirees with younger children provide for their families and as a form of insurance when a parent dies or can't work because of a disability. Within the family, each qualified child may receive monthly payments up to half of that individual's full retirement age payment. To be eligible, the child must meet certain qualifications. As you see on the screen, they must be unmarried and under the age of 18, or 18 to 19 years old, full-time student up to grade 12, or 18 or older and disabled prior to age 22. Now I'm going to move next to spousal payments. Now, if you don't have enough Social Security credits to get payments on your own work record, or your own retirement payment is too small, you may be able to receive payments as a spouse. It is important to note that if both you and your spouse are eligible for Social Security payments on your own Social Security records, Social Security will pay you whichever amount is higher, but not both. You cannot double dip. Eligible spouses can generally receive 50% of the eligible worker's full retirement age payment amount. Even if the working spouse collects early, the spousal payment will be a portion of the worker's full retirement age payment. If you are still married, you only can file for spousal payments once the working spouse has filed for their own payment. You must be married or at least age 62, married for at least 1 year, at any age if you're caring for a child under 16 or a child with a disability that we just previously discussed. I can't talk about spousal payments without talking about ex-spouse payments. So ex-spouses can receive payments on their former spouse's record if they were married at least 10 years. There is a fact that in the United States, most divorces happen within 8 years of a marriage. And Social Security is very strict on this 10-year rule. So 9 years and 11 months won't cut it. It has to reach 10. You may file, or ex-spouses may file at any time beginning at age 62 and do not need to notify their ex-spouse that they have filed. The ex-spouse will not be notified either. Eligible ex-spouses can generally receive 50% of the eligible worker's full retirement age payment amount. Even if the former spouse collects early, the ex-spouse's payment will still be a portion of the former spouse's full retirement age payment. Ex-spousal payments do not affect the ex-spouse's payment amount, nor the payment amount of a new spouse should they have remarried. You're eligible to receive payments on an ex-spouse's record if you are an ex-spouse that receives his or her own Social Security payments or is at least age 62. And if you have been divorced at least 2 years, you're at least 62 and you have not remarried. Note that it is important that if both you and your ex-spouse are eligible for Social Security payments on your own records, again, Social Security will pay you whichever is higher. You cannot double dip. And into the main topic of today's presentation, survivor payments. Now, in the event of a spouse's death, a survivor can collect up to 100% of the payment the deceased was receiving or would have received in the future. Now, this will include any delayed retirement credits the deceased earned. However, it will also include a reduction if the deceased spouse claimed early. Survivor payments can be claimed as early as age 60. Age 50 is if disabled, but they will be reduced. They can also be claimed at any age if the survivor is caring for an entitled child that we previously just went over. Dependent parents may also be eligible to collect if the deceased parents can show that they relied on their child for at least half of their support. Ex-spouses may also be eligible if the former spouse was at least 60 or 50 to 59 if disabled. They were married at least 10 years and have not remarried unless remarried after age 60. And if you're wondering, yes, if you were married and you got married again after age 60, you would be able to possibly claim on either or and see which scenario will work best for you. Survivor payments are only reduced based on when the survivor payment itself is claimed. In many situations, a survivor spouse can continue collecting on their own record to allow the survivor payment to grow until they reach their full retirement age. The survivor is still subject to the earnings limit if they have yet reached their full retirement age. Now, that's somewhere between 66 and 67. If you're born 1960 or later, your full retirement age is 67. A little bit more about survivor payments. Now, if you're already receiving spousal payments, Social Security will typically switch you to survivor payments automatically upon a spouse's death. If not automatically converted, apply by calling the Social Security Administration or that 1-800 number that you see here on your screen, or visit a local Social Security Administration office. I highly recommend to make an appointment so you're not stuck just waiting. Now, there is also other special circumstances. There is no length of marriage requirement if the death was accidental or occurred in the line of military duty, U.S. military duty. And remarrying before age 60 or 50 if disabled does affect eligibility, but remarrying at or after these ages do not. Now, I know I'll cover some information. Ready to take any questions. Any and all questions.
Okay, well, one of particular note has come in so far from John, who says, is there a time frame to claim the survivor payment after a spouse has passed?
No, good question, John. That's a great question. There is no time limit for when you can apply, but the sooner the better, mainly because also Social Security takes quite a while to process claims, as you might have heard or seen. So the sooner the better to make sure you're getting what you're eligible for.
Okay, a reminder that questions please submit in the Q&A box. That will be very helpful. We have one from Susan. Is it correct that Social Security payments are made for the previous period, not future? And for example, she says, if I get paid on the 30th of May, that is for the period prior to May 30, not for the upcoming month. That's the way it's written. Is that does it need more clarification, or does that sound like something you can answer?
That's a great question. I can definitely answer that. So Social Security does pay a month behind. You're definitely on point. So if you receive your payment in May, for example, that payment will be for the month prior.
Okay, we have one from Anne. I am collecting survivor payments and would like to switch to my higher payment at age 70. Can this happen? And if so, how?
Ask that question for me again. Sorry, Evan.
I'm collecting survivor benefits and would like to switch to my higher payment at age 70. Can this happen? And if so, how?
And that's a great question. So you're receiving survivor payments and you want to switch at 70. So yes, you can switch the payments to your own retirement payments at age 70. You will want to file a new application. And you should apply about 3 to 4 months before you want your retirement payments to start. You can apply as early as 4 months before. You can do this online, by phone, or in person. Make an appointment, please. No waiting for 3 to 4 hours. Now you will need your social security number, your proof of age, like your birth certificate, your late spouse's death certificate, if not already on file with the administration, and any other documents that Social Security Administration requests. Little people know that even if you don't have all the documentation that you need, Social Security can possibly help you obtain those extra documents that you might need from other means.
You just mentioned the various ways to apply, but which does raise the question, what's the difference these days between going to the Social Security office and doing it online or phone? Is one of them just a whole lot better than the other, or are they all, whatever?
And that's a great question, Evan. So online is most likely going to be the most convenient way. You can do it from your home. You can save and come back to where you left off, which is really convenient. When it comes to the field office, certain things, specific cases, or if you were flagged, unfortunately, to verify your identification, you would have to go in. But mainly, what you can benefit from going to the field office for is if you have a claim or a situation that really needs real answers in real time right away and someone to be there to walk you through that. And having that option can really be a big benefit in the field office versus online. You submit everything and you would have to wait to hear back. So those are kind of the differences.
You did mention it's really a good idea, though, to make an appointment ahead of time for an in-person visit.
Yes, definitely make an appointment ahead of time. Social Security Administration used to post how long the wait times were for the phone, but just recently they aren't posting that data anymore. So to just not to be caught off guard, make an appointment.
Okay, we have a question from Tamara. Is this what we're discussing here today only for a spouse, or do domestic partnerships count?
Great question. That's a great question. I get that more often than you would expect, actually, Evan. But Social Security Administration does follow some state regulations with common law. DC is one of them, for example, but it is state specific. So it would be best to, if you're looking to see if you qualify for that under the administration rules, you will want to reach out to the administration directly and double check that.
Okay, we have one from John. If I am a widower and not yet at full retirement age, and if I am still working, if I file for a spousal survivor benefit, will it be reduced by my current year's earnings?
Um, the survivor payments is based on your late spouse's work record. Now you can apply for survivor payments, receive those while waiting for your own to grow. That is an option and a strategy that you can use to maximize your Social Security payments. As far as them being reduced based off of your working, they don't directly relate because it's your work record and then your late spouse had their own work record. But to see which option would be best for you, I would say take advantage of the online My SSA account and do the estimate for your benefits and see what you might receive. Also, AARP has a Social Security calculator. You can actually use your spouse's calculations as well to see which benefit or payment will be best for you as well, just to get an idea without having to actually reach out to the administration.
A reminder, any questions, please submit to the Q&A box. We're getting to them as quickly as we can. There's a bunch in the queue right now. So we'll move to Louise. My husband died at 62. I retired in 1985 with 15 years civil service retirement. I was denied my husband's Social Security, which he thought I would receive. Can you offer any guidance?
And give me that scenario again. Works
Okay,
15
her
years.
husband died at age 62. Doesn't say when. I
Okay.
retired in 1985 with 15 years civil service retirement. I was denied my husband's Social Security, which he thought I would receive. That's what we have.
Okay. Well, I'm sorry to hear that happen. Now, if you were denied Social Security survivor payments, um, with that civil service retirement system, believe that's the CSRS. It could be due to that GPO, that government pension offset. But they did just recently pass an act for that, the Social Security Fairness Act. So that GPO or government pension offset no longer applies. So what you can do is you can appeal the decision. You can file a request for reconsideration. And I'm trying to remember the form, Evan, off the top of my head. I believe it's the SSA 561 form, but it is it's filed for reconsideration. You can also appeal online via the Social Security Appeals Portal, and gather all the supporting document, and then also check for exceptions as well. But now that the Social Security Fairness Act has been in place since January 1st of this year, you might actually be able to appeal that decision.
For what it's worth, Louise messaged me after my last comment and did mention that her spouse died in 1995. I don't know if
Okay.
that changes anything or not, but
Right. It shouldn't change anything. But you just reapply for the request for the reconsideration. You can also do that with an attorney if that helps you and you have the means to get an attorney, but call SSA at that 1-800 number and clarify your case.
okay, we have this from Teresa. If my spouse passed in 2021, but my survivor benefits did not kick in until 2025 with the WEP, could I get retro pay?
That's a great question. And that WEP stands for Windfall Elimination provision. For anyone that didn't know the abbreviation. So the Fairness Act that went into place this year, January 1st, it is retroactive to January of 2024. So what that means is that you can reach out to SSA if you haven't already received a lump sum and request or see if you're eligible for back payments, but it's only going to go back to January 1st of 2024. That is the option that could be available to you.
Okay, again, any questions, please send to the Q&A box. And thanks to Irina for asking this. How do I know what my Social Security is going to be versus my late husband's Social Security? I officially requested it, but they did not give it to me.
Um, yeah, unless you are the representative payee, which that does require a form and approval by the administration, you wouldn't be able to request what he would make just because of you being married. But what you can do is ask if your husband will be okay with it, if he could reach out and get that information. You
If I may, late husband's
late
Social
husband.
Security.
Ah, great. So in that situation with your late husband, and they didn't give you that information, you can still apply. If I'm following a question correctly, if you haven't applied already, you can still apply and they can still do the calculations to what you will receive. If your husband has already passed away.
Okay, so again, in her case, she's trying to determine what hers would be versus what her late husband's would be. You
Got
are
it.
saying just start applying?
Yes, you will be best to apply. Social Security Administration will have the best knowledge to that and having all the information. And they do receive these work records from the IRS directly. So as long as you have his social security number, and you're able to do the application and apply for these payments, Social Security will be able to tell you which one will be higher once the application is approved.
Okay, we have a message here from a very recent widow from Susan. My husband passed away May 31st of this year. There was a Social Security payment deposited in his account on May 30th, the day before his passing. On June 13th, the Social Security Administration reversed that deposit. This does not seem correct given payments are for the previous period. What do I do?
With that, the Social Security Administration does, even though they pay on certain times of the month, whether it be the first, second, or third Wednesday of the month, it is still based off of the month. And like you said, the previous month, the best option would be to reach out to the administration and have them double check that information to make sure that it wasn't something in error by them. If they find that they were correct by reversing that payment, you want to make sure you give that payment back to the administration so that way you're not on the hook for an overpayment.
Yeah, to be clear, he passed while the day after the May payment arrived, so all that applies.
Yep. So best to reach out to the administration on that. That is the first step to make sure you don't have an overpayment. Now, without me knowing how much your late husband received in his Social Security payment, if that payment you already spent by chance and you can't send that back to the administration and they do pose the overpayment, you are able to set up a repayment plan with the administration. And I have seen in some cases that they do take payments as low as $10 a month. You can pay back $10 a month all the way until the year of 2049, I believe. And then at that point, Social Security Administration will make the changes in that year. So if that might work for you and just paying $10 until 2049, that is another option that you can set up with Social Security.
One from, I hope I'm pronouncing this correct, Saeed. Apologies if I did not pronounce that correctly. When my wife passed away 5 years ago, I received a check from Social Security Administration for $200 plus, is what it says, more than $200. And I was told, since my income is more than $18,000 per year, I am not eligible to collect her Social Security, the money that she had been collected for years of working. Has this always been a question? He's wondering, Saeed, he or she, he is wondering why. Would you like that reread?
Yes, please.
Okay. When my wife passed away 5 years ago, I received a check from SSA for more than $200. And I was told, since my income is more than $18,000 per year, I am not eligible to collect her Social Security, the money that she had collected for years of working. This has always been a question to me as to why.
Okay. And that's a great question. So first, that amount that you received, that what Social Security calls a lump sum death payment, that you received that. And eligible retirees receive up to about 6 months of retroactive benefits payment instead of monthly checks. Now, I can't see how much she was receiving, but based off your question, I can only assume that she was receiving more than below. That would add up to only 200. Now, you said you can't receive you can't receive survivor benefits. Now, if you're under full retirement age, and that is 66 to 67, it might apply to the earnings test and why you can't receive it. You said 18,000. So I would want to, without me seeing it, all I can do is state the facts. You might want to reach back out to the administration. But in 2025, you can earn up to 23,400 without affecting any payments. If you're under your full retirement age. Now, if you earn more than that, then Social Security, what they do is they deduct $1 for every $2. You're over the limit of that 23,400. So with the 18,000 and that 2025 limit, your benefits shouldn't be reduced based on earnings alone. I'm trying to think, maybe Social Security could have possibly miscalculated. That is another option. That could be an application error or missing documentation, but mainly it would be best to appeal that with Social Security if you feel that you are eligible for those payments.
What's your experience from those who try to go through the appeals process?
The appeal process can take some time. It can be lengthy. It is easier and more fluid, if you will, if you have an attorney. But it has been reversals. Social Security used to also keep that time on their website on how long appeal processes usually take, but they took that down as well with the wait times for the call center, unfortunately.
But you're saying it's not a case of an automatic rejecto.
Yeah, that definitely appeal. If you feel that you're right, it could be missing documentation and they just denied it. So maybe find out what that reason is, get some documentation on why the denial happened.
Okay, you mentioned just a moment or two ago about a death benefit, and I'm just curious. This question, I received an advertisement that indicates Social Security pays a $250 allowance for funeral expenses. Is that correct?
Yeah, so if the individual wasn't receiving Social Security payments, Social Security will pay a one-time lump sum payment to help with any funeral arrangements or that matter. It is about 250 some odd dollars. But that is a one-time payment that they do send out.
A reminder again, questions please to the Q&A box. This one from Melissa. The deceased spouse was collecting Social Security disability at age 57 due to terminal illness. What percentage can the survivor spouse can collect before the full retirement age, which in this case is 67, based on deceased spouse's work history?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So if you're not full retirement age, as I still have on the screen, it is, as you see in the second bullet, it does come at a reduced payment amount. That reduced payment amount can vary depending on when you actually claim that benefit, and that can vary based off month by month. If you're claiming as early as 60, it can be about almost 30% of a reduction on what you could have possibly received.
This question, I am receiving survivor benefits. When I am 70, how do I find out if my own benefits would be more than my late husband's?
There's a couple of ways, and that's a great question. So, you can use socialsecurity.gov, the My SSA account, and they have a benefit or payment estimator on their website. AARP also has a Social Security calculator that you can use. You'll be able to take some of that work history or some tax information that you might remember from previous years, and just plug that information in. But the best way would be to apply for those and see what Social Security would possibly give you, because they would have all of the information directly from the IRS.
Alrighty, Jamie, we have this from Bob. I'm currently getting survivor payments, but I don't see anywhere on my SSA page to switch to my higher amount in October. Is it easier to go in person?
Depending on your particular situation, sometimes it can be easier to go in person. You can also call. I know sometimes the wait times can be quite long. And when I say that, I mean hours. Um, but it would be best to possibly call or go in. Definitely, if you're not seeing it on the online account, it could be a limitation of what their online portal or program is set up. So definitely reach out or just set up an appointment if you have that time to go into a field office.
Okay, this from Molly. My husband passed this month at age 60 and was receiving a Social Security disability income. I am age 63. Can I apply for survivor benefits? and then let my benefits grow and switch when I turn 67?
Yes, that is a great question. You are able to do that. You can apply at a reduced amount since you are age 63 for the survivor payments, and then after that you can switch to your own once you get to a 67 or 70 or when you plan to claim your own payments. But you do have that option.
Okay, we have another death benefit inquiry. This from John. How long does it take to receive the $200 plus death benefit after you apply for it?
Ooh, that is a great question. All I can do is estimate. It could be 2 months, it could be 6 months. It really depends on the time of year, what's going on currently at Social Security, and if there's any other, I would say, initiatives such as the Fairness Act that took place at the beginning of this year. I'm pretty sure that was at the top of Social Security's ticket, if you will, and they were making sure they processed those. But a lot of factors can determine how long it can take. So somewhere between 2 months, maybe even possibly 8 months, but it's just an estimation.
Okay, we have one in a different direction here from Linda. I am a widow. Does Social Security log you by your Social Security number or name when they keep your work record?
That is your social security number. That is used universally across the federal government, mainly to help keep track of your work record. So mainly the IRS uses that, and the IRS sends that to the Social Security Administration by your social security number.
Okay, we are actually starting to catch up with some of the questions submitted so far. So if you still have some, please do so in the Q&A box. We're starting to get a little bit caught up here. This from Irina, it may be a follow-up to one from earlier. Assuming that my deceased husband's Social Security is greater than mine, is it better to start with my own at full retirement age and switch to his at 70? Or can I apply to his Social Security and not wait until I turn 70?
And that's a great question. You probably asked that earlier, but we're just getting to your question. So yes, as we previously stated, that you can actually claim the survivor payments as you wait to claim your own, to allow for that to grow and allow for you to wait until 67 or 70, if you will. So you do have that option.
Okay, for what it's worth, I hear thunder in the background, so hopefully I will not get cut off here. We will continue here with Jamie Lyle as long as the questions come in. Do have some general questions that might apply to a lot of people and interest them, Jamie. Just in general, what is AARP's position as to whether Social Security is actually under threat?
Well, Social Security does face some financial challenges in the future. The trustees report did state by 2034 that the program or Social Security itself will face solvency, but that doesn't mean that they won't stop being able to pay payments. They're looking at that it might be able to pay 80% of payments that are owed if Congress doesn't take any action. Congress has a lot of options available that they can take ahead of time. ARP, of course, urges Congress to make actions sooner than later instead of waiting until the end. But that's as much as I can say about that without getting too political.
Do you think Congress would actually vote to defund or even underfund Social Security?
Um, Congress does a lot of things. I can't speak for Congress. I can say that back in I believe 1970s, that is when the retirement age was increased to help with the solvency issues in the past. So it isn't like this has been the first time we've been in this situation as a country. So there are options available.
I guess finally, does ARP believe Social Security is under threat?
It faces challenges, is what I'll say.
Fair enough. I do have a question in from Linda. What documents do I need for my meeting at the Social Security office to switch to my deceased husband's monthly benefit since it was more than mine.
Okay, so what documents do you need for survivor payments specifically? So with that, you will want the original certified copy of the death certificate. That's important. Then you will want your birth certificate, the marriage certificate, and if and she didn't say divorce, right? I want to just make sure I'm
No
following.
mention of divorce in this message.
Okay. So, and then your social security number, of course, your the late spouse's social security number. And this is all if it isn't on file. I'm just going over everything that you might possibly need. Um, you possibly, if you have any grandchildren by chance that's also on the record, you will want their social security numbers, and birth certificates for any dependent children. Proof of U.S. citizenship, so that's about your social security number would do that. And your W-2 for your work and banking information because Social Security pays mainly and only by direct deposit.
Okay, we have some more questions that have come into our Q&A box. Thank you for making sure that they go there. And another question, Jamie, with regards to a recent passing and the payments. My husband passed away on the same day that his SSDI payment, June 11, was posted to our checking. Since
Mm.
that payment, um, and forgive me, it would be for May. Since that payment would be for May, am I able to keep it or will it need to be returned? It sounds similar to what Susan asked earlier.
Now that situation is a little different because you received the payment, his benefits or payments just started for Social Security disability. Um, Without asking any follow-up questions or seeing the record myself, Social Security usually takes some time to process claims. So usually when the first payment comes, it's usually a lump sum to cover for the months that it took to send you your first payment. If it is that lump sum that you received as his first payment, sometimes it might also have the first monthly payment in that lump sum. So that might be just like the previous situation. Social Security might ask for the monthly amount back, but there is a chance that they won't. The best thing to do is to contact the Social Security Administration before you start spending too much, if you haven't already spent a lot by now, and just double checked so you won't be caught off guard by overpayment notice in the mail a couple months from now.
All righty, we have 3 questions in the queue right now, so we should be able to get to those with no problems.
Awesome.
But we will be wrapping things up in a little more than, not quite 15 minutes. I am 70, this from Madeline. My husband is 67 and still working. If I claim my Social Security now, which is much less than his, can I switch it to 1/2 payment of his once he begins claiming his?
As so, can she switch to 1/2 of his? So in many cases, overall, you can claim your own Social Security retirement payments first and switch to survivor or vice versa. But it does depend on age and which one is higher, as we covered. So you're at age 70. You can choose to start with either your own retirement payment or the survivor payment. Later, you can switch to the other if one will pay more. Mainly, that strategy is often used to maximize lifetime payments. So that is an option that you have.
Can
Um,
she change when she turns 70? Can she do it one way now and then change it at her full retirement age?
Yep. So vice versa, it works both ways for survivor payments. So she can claim hers. She's 70, so she's already at the maximum age that she can claim. And then afterwards, if something was to happen to your spouse, unfortunately, then you could switch to survivor payments if they are higher.
Okay, we have a follow-up from Melissa to an earlier question. If a deceased spouse was collecting $2,500, I presume monthly, does my survivor spouse Social Security benefit reduction is based upon $2,500 if I collect before my full retirement age. Was that clear? Would you like a repeat?
Yeah, can you reread that for me,
Sure.
please?
If a deceased spouse was collecting $2,500, does
Okay.
my survivor spouse Social Security benefit reduction is based on $2,500 if I collect before my full retirement age?
Great question. Thank you for rereading that for me, Evan. So, survivor payments mainly are only reduced based on when the survivor payment itself is claimed. Um, so it will be based off of when you claim and if you're at your full retirement age, or not yet. So you can, and I'm trying to follow the question again, but you can continue collecting on your own record, like we discussed as a strategy, to allow that survivor payment to grow, until you reach your full retirement age. So there are some options, but mainly the survivor payment reduction is based off of when you claim that payment.
This from Christy, just to verify at age 60, I can apply to SSA for a reduced benefit from my late husband's account. If I choose to remarry after age 60, I will be able to continue to receive that reduced benefit amount from my late spouse after remarrying. I think that's more than a question than a declarative, but
Yeah,
so
yeah.
put that as a question.
Yes. But yes, you do have that. You're over age 60, you're receiving survivor payments, you've remarried, you can continue to receive those survivor payments. You can even look to see if your spousal payment might be higher, but usually isn't because survivor payments are 100% and spousal is 50%. But yes, you have that option. And then also, if you're in a particular situation that both marriages last for 10 years and you are the survivor, then you now have the option of two survivor payments in that specific scenario. And that is one that I would recommend going into the field office for.
Oh, okay, very good. I'm just hearing thunder louder. I don't know if that's coming across or not. From Tamara, can you opt out of receiving survivor benefits if the payments are higher and would make you no longer qualify for Medicaid? It says Medicaid. If so, is there a time limit on when you can switch back to your original payment?
Well, I will say I'm a Social Security expert, not a Medicare or Medicaid expert. You can choose not to receive survivor payments. Um, you can withdraw your application, but you do only have 1 year to withdraw your application. Also, when you withdraw your application within that year, depending on when you withdraw it after it started, you are required to pay back everything that Social Security paid, anything they have paid towards Medicare, and if there were any garnishments from your Social Security, you would have to pay those back as well. You can do that only once in your lifetime, and usually within 12 months after the approval. Um, Other than that, you can delay claiming. But that is the only options as far as once you start.
Okay, we have a follow-up from Teresa. And it says F/U as a CSRS employee. I trust you're more familiar with the acronyms than I am. I
Okay.
started receiving my husband's survival benefits in April of this year due to WEP. However, I did just turn 65 this year. If I claim retro at age 64, will my survivor benefits be reduced?
Sorry, I'm just reading your question off the captions. State that last two sentences for me, Evan, please.
Okay, I just turned 65 this year. If I claim retro at age 64, will my survivor benefits be reduced?
Um, that wasn't something that was listed in the Social Security Fairness Act. That is a very good question, very specific. Um, Thinking about how the payment formula works, there is a possibility that since you would have been 64, then they will be reduced because it's going to be based off of that year and what age you were during that year. Um, that's the best I can give you without being the one processing the claim myself. But I would say reach out to Social Security Administration and pose that question and get the best concrete answer and the actual number that would be. But to answer your question, it is a possibility.
This is probably a good time, Jamie, for those who are wondering if they need further assistance. Where is assistance available? You mentioned attorneys. Obviously, there are cost considerations there. One person asked if AARP provides any assistance, but what's your recommendation as to, at times, who do we turn to, and under what circumstances does it make sense to do so?
I would say you can always count on AARP to be there for you for any educational needs or the latest news that's happening in Social Security and how we're fighting for our members. I did list some resources on the screen for everyone to take a screenshot or jot down, if you will. This AARP's website allows for all the educational resources you need. Also, your questions answered tool that we have, that's your frequently asked question tool, if you will. If you have that question, it's probably 1,000 or thousands of others that have the same question. Now, if you're looking for even additional help, I would say that you could reach out to some attorneys. There are attorneys that offer assistance. Most attorneys that help with processing claims. There is something called a fee agreement. I believe that amount is about $7,200. That's the max that an attorney can receive. The attorney won't charge you per se. They'll deduct that from the total lump sum that you might receive from the administration. So in this example, let's say you did your claim, it took Social Security some odd months, and your lump sum payment is $20,000 that you're due to receive. The attorney will receive money out of that lump sum before it's sent to you, and that's how they're paid. So that way you won't have to pay out of your own pocket. So that is another option that's available to you. There are attorneys available all around the nation that could be in your state that can help you.
And to specifically address this one person's inquiry, AARP has these resources that you're providing right in front of us, but it doesn't offer individual counseling.
Correct. We do, if you happen to be in the DC location, there is the legal counsel for the elderly. They do help DC residents, specifically with their Social Security pro bono. But there are other organizations and supportive groups that help throughout the nation in other states. So just look and see if you can locate one, Google one, or look on our webpage. Also, it's not on the list, but if you do have questions after this presentation, you can send an email to SSQA, so Sierra, Quebec, Alpha at aarp.org. And that email comes directly to me or one of our other Social Security experts. And you can continue that conversation and you can reply to that email directly. Again, that's SSQA at aarp.org, that email address.
Okay, very good. So it's just about time to wrap things up. A couple of things going on here. First of all, we thank you all for participating today. And we hope you feel encouraged and have a better understanding of how to maximize your Social Security benefits. Make sure to come back and join us for 90 Years of Social Security on Tuesday, August 5th, 2 p.m., same time Eastern. The registration link has been placed in the chat. And the AARP Social Security link has been placed in the chat as well. Now, if you're interested in rewatching this program, please check out our AARP Virginia YouTube page. And again, a big thank you to our guest, Jamie, AARP staff, and of course, you. I'm Evan Jones, your AARP volunteer host, and we thank you for joining us today. And this concludes our program. You may now leave the Zoom meeting. We hope you have a great afternoon.